Soundspeed. Godspeed and Soundspeed.
Yeah. Spectacles.
Soundspeed, gentle traveler.
Yeah, whatever that saying is.
And then he left our lives forever.
He did.
And he bequeathed us this studio.
Hello, the Sonic City Council is now in session. Thank you once again for joining us, whether it's in your headphones, your car, your home, your mind. We appreciate you, fellow citizens. And now, in the studio, we have Davey Sipes.
Good evening, everybody.
Sweet parade wave, sir.
Or
kudos
if you prefer,
to you.
Afternoon.
Yes.
Depends on when you are.
Yes, when you are, if you are, when you wish upon a star. And now, I have to call the meeting to order. The gavel from the heavens. I mean, you could hit the gavel there too, but you know what? Since I am coming to you via Zoom today, I want to pull the gavel in from the heavens one more time, if that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's actually, it's appropriate. You're the gaveler here, and yeah, it feels weird to even lift it up when you're not here, frankly. Heavy, thus the gavel doth lie, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And yes, for those of you that don't know, sometimes we film these intros and outros separately for time constraints, and when we can record the episode versus when we can record the little spiel before and after. So we scheduled it to today, and then unfortunately I couldn't make it into the studio. So Davey is laying down some music right now with Max. Is that for Disaster Cabinet, right?
Yeah, on a technical level it is. Also got a commission from the Vatican that I'm working on too, but mostly it's just Disaster Cabinet.
Well, that sounds exciting and intriguing. So if you want to check out Davey's music, it will be available hopefully soon because it's exciting and I love listening to it. And for those citizens that don't know, it is the outro bit to every podcast. So that's Davey laying down some sweet guitar riffs, and you'll be getting more of that soon, hopefully, from Disaster Cabinet. So excited for that, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I guess I should take the lid off of it tentatively, but there is a plan. I won't say what today is because then you guys will be able to track my movements, and you know how I hate that, meatbags. But a little birdie that I keep in a cage has told me that you can expect the actual Disaster Cabinet EP this 4/20 streaming on all platforms.
Oh, man.
I know. Court orders have kept it off the shelves for about a year and a half. But at the end of the day, free speech wins, motherfucker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yep.
So there will be a link in the description below to Davey's Instagram page and social media stuffs. So if you want to keep up on when his music will be out, you can check it out there. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and do the whole YouTube I like what you do business. So, and also thank you to Amped Music in Lancaster, California, who is helping to bring you this podcast. And there's also a link in the description below to check out Amped Music and all of the cool activities that they've got going on. So today, Davey, I'm very excited for the guest that we have in store.
I can't even speak on it. It's just too much. It's too colossal. It's too...
Oh.
It's throbbingly amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you tell him, because I can't, because I'm verklempt. I can't even.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. And the topic for today is our guest who graciously agreed to come on Sonic City Council and spend some time talking about songwriting and guitar playing and producing and recording. And it is none other than the fabulous, spectacular Gary Hoey.
What?
Oh, that was a
Did
nice
you just say
harmony we
Gary
just did.
Hoey? What? I'm sorry. Wait. I'm confused. Now, I know you have a friend. Your friend Gary Hoey. Is he also the legendary guitar player? Gary Hoey, or is it just separate Gary Hoey because that's a name?
No, it is not an Office Space Michael Bolton situation. It is indeed the one and only Gary Hoey, guitar player extraordinaire.
Well, shit my grits. Now, meatbags, if you don't know who Gary Hoey is, fuck you. Go look it up.
Hold on.
I don't have time to explain, but Jesse's gonna explain a little bit.
Just like the Candies, Davy is sour. Now I will come in and be sweet. So, for those of you that don't know, Gary is a solo artist who has been touring and recording and playing for, I think, since the early 90s, and putting out records and, touring with various artists like Jeff Beck, Brian May he's toured with. And basically he's just been a staple in the blues, rock, and surf scenes as far as being an artist, keeping those genres going and alive. And also, he's just he's a producer as well. He's produced records for Lita Ford and a couple other major artists. And he's just the epitome of what I think a lifer in music looks like. And I don't care what your genre is, what your style is, the scene you're working is. It's a good example of, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to stick to my principles, and I'm going to pursue this because I love it, no matter what's going on in life. And he's done it successfully since that time. And it's there's a lot of wisdom that I've learned from just working with him and becoming friends with him. And I was hoping to spread some of that wisdom to the podcast today by asking him to come on.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, and yeah,
I think that'll work.
I want to quit my yapping and get to the man of the hour, the man of the podcast hour. So without further ado, what do you say we get into this thing?
On with the show.
All right, Gary, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
My pleasure. Good to be here, guys.
Yeah, man. It's I appreciate you taking time away from your wonderful mother to come back to your studio and hang out and talk guitar playing and creativity and all aspects of music with us.
My pleasure, my friend. I told my mom, I said, I got to get out of here. I'm doing a Zoom thing with my friends. So she goes, well, you at least better push my T-shirt, Coffee Time with Mom. So she says, wear the shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Clearly.
I already want one.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The mug.
See?
Yeah. You got the shirts and the coffee mugs appropriately for Coffee Time with Mom. And if anybody hasn't seen that, please go to Gary. Oh, look at you.
Oh, I'm so on board. Oh, shit.
If anybody has not seen Gary doing a Zoom or a Facebook Live coffee show with his mother on his Facebook page, please go check it out. It's adorable, and she's the best. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thanks.
And you know what? With her saying to push the T-shirt, it's clear where you get your work ethic from, man, because you are always grinding away at either recording or, when the pandemic isn't happening, touring or songwriting for other projects. And, it's where did that come from? And I mean, as far as, is that something that's always run in your family? Is that something that it's just because of your passion for it? Kind of talk about your mindset and your work ethic a little bit.
Yeah, I think, you probably hit it right on the head. My mom, probably gave me my work ethic because she was always a hard worker and just, always on the go, getting stuff done and taking on projects and kind of fearless in a way.
Yeah.
And I think I took that on from her. And I guess I do have a pretty good work ethic overall. I try to. And I am a hustler, man, because I have to provide for my family, so I'm always thinking ahead, and I sometimes wonder, honestly, how I've done this for 20-something years with a wife and 2 kids, and been able to provide. But it's interesting. I just I try to never let fear set in. I try not to let that fear set in, because if you start to get fearful, like, oh, I won't do it, then you kind of, I don't know, you have to just sort of keep working hard and have faith, and then all of a sudden things just start coming in.
Yeah.
And sometimes things that I do that aren't always for money necessarily, they just, they lead to other things that might bring in some money. So you just have to, and when people see you busy, they're like, wow, that guy's busy, man. I'm going to hire him. And, you know, half the time I might not even be making money. You never know.
Right. But it really is a testament to just how much you love doing what you do. And I think that it doesn't matter if somebody isn't in the style of music that you're in. They can take a page from your book, and that this is what being a lifer in music looks like, through the ups and the downs, and through just sticking to what you love, no matter what that is. And it's really a testament to your work ethic and your whole mindset too. You're one of the most positive people I know. Every day just posting on Facebook and Instagram like, all right, we're gonna just do the best that we can today. And it's refreshing, man. It's awesome. It's totally
Thank
awesome.
you, man. I appreciate it. Well, you know, I try to be positive. There's enough negative stuff out there. You know, if you just, you know what I mean? Like just people just spilling out whatever they want. And so I try to be a positive space for people. And you know, I try to wake up every day as a musician and just say, you know, what can I get done today? What can I do today to get one step closer to what I want to do or who I want to be? And if it's going to be your life, you know, if it's going to be what you're going to do for a living, then relax, take a deep breath, and just, you know, don't kill yourself. Every day you're just going to say, this is who I am, this is what I do.
Right.
Then, you know, by the end of the day, just say, okay, I got that done. I got that off my list, or I did something different, because I'm very overwhelmed. You know, I have so many things going on, and
right.
I can get very overwhelmed if I don't just micro focus on what I can get done right now, and then I relax and I go, oh, okay, I got this. And then, you know, as time passes, you look back and go, wow, look at all the things I've done.
Yeah.
I just try to trust my instincts. You know, if I wake up and say, you know, today I really need to motivate people, then I'm going to do it. And if I think, oh, maybe some people think I'm sickening, or can he really be that nice? I don't worry about that. I just say, you know what, that one person who's going to get motivated by what I did is really the one that means the most to me.
Well, I can attest to that personally, that it's not an act at all. You know, it's you, what you see is what you get with you. And, you know, especially, you know, going back to the coffee time with Mom, like just watching you talking to her, it's like, yeah, I've seen you have those similar conversations with friends to where you're just warm and open, and like, this is just who you are. And being in the music business, I don't think it's an environment that fosters that positivity very often. So you can easily get sucked into a why me, or a negative space of like, why is this happening? Or I should have this, I should be this. But you're accepting who you are, and that, you know, through the ups and the downs, I'm going to do this. And I wanted to ask, how does that positivity and that negativity that you run into in life affect your creativity and how you write? How do you keep that part of it pure and separate?
Well, you know, I think, you know, with anything in life, you know, it's the perspective. You know, if you put things in perspective, it can make things seem, you know, better than, you know, than you think they are.
Yeah.
Or it can make them seem worse, you know,
Right.
depending on what your perspective is. So,
right.
And it's easy to get on the pity party in this business, because it is a tough business. And, oh man, why didn't this happen to me? And I'm not saying I don't do it sometimes too, you know. I'm like, wow, how come that didn't happen for me? And I do it too. We all do it.
Right.
And then I slap myself in the head and I say, stop it, you know.
Yeah.
You be happy for that person.
Yeah, right.
You know, stop putting needles in that voodoo doll, you know.
Yeah.
Wish them well, and be happy for, you know, what everyone's doing, and know that there's room for you, and everything that's going to happen was meant to be. That's the other thing I look at, is sometimes I used to try to force things, and I realize sometimes, you know, maybe this wasn't the right time. And, you know, as a musician, you just don't know when the right time is.
Yeah, right.
It's a combination of preparation, luck, you know, timing. It's like those things, you know, like, are you prepared when that opportunity comes?
Yeah.
And if you think you are at the moment, maybe you were, but maybe 2 years later you go, wow, I'm so glad I didn't have that then. I'm so much better now.
Yeah.
And the thing that you think is the best thing in the world, maybe in 2 years you'll be like, you know, that maybe isn't the best thing in the world. So
yeah,
it's, you know, some things are meant to be. I trust, you know, that things are going to happen for a reason. And, you know, I tell this to people all the time online, is, you know, fill the space with positive things and not negative things, you know, whether it's focusing on what's negative, or, you know, like just playing music can sometimes change your mood, playing some music
totally.
or changing the music or filling up your space with something productive or taking your time to go help somebody else. Just say, you know what, it ain't about me today. I'm going to go shovel the snow for the elderly people, or I'm going to go, do some laundry for somebody. I'm just do something that's not just for you. And stop promoting yourself, promote some other people, and mix it up a little bit. And then all of a sudden you go, you know what, it isn't just about me. And then that can make things feel better.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a really poignant piece of advice that you gave me. After we worked together at one of the rock and roll fantasy camps, I had asked, hey, could I pick your brain about music stuff? Because I was going through my own, stuff with just, trying to figure out where I fit in and what I should do. And then, that thing when you're thinking about your future. And you said something really poignant to me, which was just, be thankful that you get to play and do this every day. And that was kind of getting lost on me at the time, just because you get overwhelmed by a lot of different things. And it really is important just to remind yourself of those things sometimes. And even things in your personal life too. If things are, crazy, then sometimes you forget that, like, wow, I have this gift that, is really a blessing to, carry with me every day.
It is a blessing. It is a gift. And, it depends what you do with it, And sometimes what your plan for it maybe isn't exactly, what was supposed to be. And so I look at life and the music business and everything in any life. I look at it as a series of plan Bs, It's you try to think, oh, I don't have a plan B. This is all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But what do you do when your plan doesn't work?
Right.
You have to come up with a plan B.
Right.
So I think life is a series of plan Bs. It's just like, okay, that didn't work. Let me shift over here a little bit. And it doesn't mean you're giving up on your dream. It doesn't mean you're selling out. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It just means you're adjusting to your environment. You're adjusting to the industry changing.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. And I didn't start crying when Napster stole everyone's music. And I didn't start crying when people started streaming everything and we get microscopic pieces of royalties.
Right,
I didn't start crying because if you focus on crying, you'll be crying all the time.
Yeah.
What I did is I made some T-shirts and I took my mother online because I couldn't go on tour.
Yeah.
And I just, tried to take a positive look at what was going on and say, how can I reinvent my business right now and still stay connected to my fans?
Yeah.
And I found out by doing that online, I could stay connected and still make some money here and there and make some people happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's tight.
Yeah, that's really awesome. In that same conversation, too, there was a lot of, as you can tell, Gary is full of wisdom and knowledge and information just with the years that you've been doing this. And you summarized, I think, the music business down to a perfect quote, which was, 1 minute you're on easy street when everything's going well, and then if you make the wrong decision or sign the wrong deal or things like that, you can end up on sleazy street. And I was like, that was the perfect way to put it. And, it's it really is something to where I think you within the last few years of like listening to the last couple albums you put out, it really feels like you're just embracing who you are and your roots. And like I did a dive on, kind of your catalog and going through Spotify, and I started at Heavy Bones, going all the way back. And I'm like, well, let me hear what Gary was, like when he was getting his first breaks. And then let me hear what the first albums kind of sounded like. And then went all the way through to now, just listening to different tracks. And I don't know, something about these last couple albums really feel like you're just embracing who you are and your creative process. And it feels like this is me, and there's like no apologies about it or trying to fit into a certain mold, which is cool.
Thank you, man. Well, I've kind of been a chameleon all over the place, doing everything from Christmas music to surf music to, soundtracks and just everything. So again, I go with my instincts, I go with what feels good. And like I said, if something's not working, I try something different. And it's not just to, clutch at straws. It's really to think, you know what, this is a really cool idea. And I just want to do it right now. And some people might think I'm crazy, but I'll just kind of go for it. And it's funny you should say that, Jesse, because, I'm doing this retrospective tour. And it made me sit back and look at a lot of my older catalog. And as much as I love the blues rock thing, which I've been doing for the last few records, you know, I went back to some of my earlier music, and not just because it was instrumental kind of shred music, but to play the melodies and the songs I wrote, even as someone in my 20s, you know, I was really proud of the music, and it felt good to go back and play it again.
Yeah.
And, you know, this backdrop behind me, you know, which is, you know, I got a green screen going on because I got laundry everywhere. You know, it's just a screenshot of my iTunes account, you know? Yeah. And I'm looking at all these albums behind me, and I was just sitting there thinking, going, wow, I've created all this music, you know? And it made me feel really proud of my career and what I've done and the music I've created. And so the next album, you know, going into this new record I'm working on, I think I'm going to go back. It's weird. I'm going to go back to some of my roots a little bit and put more of a guitar spin on it, you know, because we lost Eddie Van Halen. You know, we've lost so many legends. So I want this album to be a bit more of an extreme guitar album.
Yeah.
And,
nice.
you know, I want the music to have a bit more depth to it because of what we've been through this past year.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think it's great because you've been paying tribute to the blues, and then I think now is a really good time to be paying tribute to those guitar heroes, you know.
And I'm sure there'll be still blues in there, but
yeah,
I think it's time to make a statement with the guitar on this record and the music too. I think you're going to really love some of this stuff. I can't wait for you to hear it.
Oh, absolutely, man. I can't wait. I was going to ask you, what are some of the Gary tracks and albums, and sort of what era are you the biggest fan of?
Oh, well, you see, I started learning guitar in the 90s when I was like 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And when I started taking lessons, my teacher over here at the store in Palmdale tipped me on to my boy Gary.
Yeah.
And so I think it was Animal Instinct was the first one I heard, and I was like, okay, legit. But I think the one that really got me wrapped up was the Money one, because I was pretty hardcore about Pink Floyd growing up. But It's actually all the tracks after that.
Yeah.
And it's just like vibe and like just playing like there's a lot of lead guitar that's just so melodic and so lyrical.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I was like, my teacher turned me on to that because I was kind of like, Steve Vai, he's trying to show me this, he's trying to show me that, and I'm not feeling any of that. But when I heard your music, I was like, oh, so that's how you can make a lead that just feels like where it's singing, where it's just consistent throughout the song.
Definitely.
So that hit me hard.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love when a guitar has a melody. You know, to me, I feel like you have to have a melody and an arrangement, to build a song on before you can, just shred on it. I always try to create music that had some kind of a mood, had some kind of an atmosphere. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because music is just... it's a bunch of chords, and we're all playing the same chords.
12 semitones.
And it's like building the same house with the same walls, and, how you paint it and how you decorate it and how you put everything on it is what makes it yours and uniquely yours. Mm-hmm. And I always felt that way with music, when I was young, before I even became a musician, just the way music affected me. And when I heard Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper and all this stuff, I just said, oh, my God, this music takes you away from where you are,
Mm-hmm.
And I was going through the troubles of any teenager, My parents were getting divorced, and, my family felt like it was falling apart. And music was the thing that, gave me a place to go to kind of escape, and... feel like everything was okay.
Did you start playing gigs around that time when you were getting into music, or was it more just practicing it, on your own and learning the instrument?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 14.
Right.
And we started playing high school dances and stuff, probably a couple, within a year or two later, we were doing some high school dances.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then maybe when I was 17, definitely 17, I was playing the clubs.
Okay.
And
in New England, and started playing, a little more and more. And then by the time I was 19, I was in a full blown, I guess, top 40 band.
Yeah.
Sick.
We've all
playing the
there.
Holiday Inns,
Oh yeah. No, we've all done that for sure.
Yeah. And playing with, learning what a hit is, playing hits every night,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You learn about hit songs. You learn what's, you learn what's going to make something, special. And, you know, for me, music is just like, it's a lot of happy accidents, you know, it's just sitting and creating and just playing around with, you know, sounds and seeing what comes out. And, you know, I never think about writing songs because it's a scary thought to think, oh, I'm going to go write a song, you know.
Right.
I very rarely go write a song, you know. I just come up with weird ideas and try to connect, you know, put them together. And I have a little tape recorder that I use that I keep handy, or I use my iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tool.
But I'm always trying to be careful, like when you start your goofing around with music, it's those moments when you're just going, oh, let me try this pedal. Oh, let me see how this amp sounds. I'm telling you. Or like, for me, it's the first thing in the morning when I have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee.
I wake up in the morning, I grab a cup of coffee, and I usually have a guitar next to the couch.
Right.
So I always usually play when I'm watching the news or just sitting there having coffee. And it's weird. Just, you know, I'll pick up a guitar and I'll be like, oh, you know, here's a guitar, you know, let me see what, you know. And all of a sudden I might be like, just, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like Sunday morning or something and you're just feeling good. And I'll be like, where's my phone? You know? Well, and then I'll record it. And I remember I did an album called Bug Alley that I recorded with a producer named Roy Thomas Baker. And he did Queen and produced Bohemian Rhapsody and all these amazing records. So I got to do one album with him, and he taught me so much.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I remember I was on my way out the door. I was heading out the door to go to the studio he had in Lake Havasu in the desert. He had this beautiful studio. And I picked up my guitar, and I just started playing this thing. I started going like... You know, just play this thing.
Yeah.
And I had an echo on it. It was kind of echoing, you know. And I was just playing that. And I had to leave. I had to go to the studio. I had to start driving. And I started playing this little melody, you know, over it. And my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend, Nicole, said, what are you playing? I said, I have no idea.
Yeah.
She said, that might be one of the best things you've ever written.
Wow.
You better record it.
Ooh.
And I ended up just putting it down real quick, and I came up with a chorus. It went to like a major thing for the chorus. And then F sharp. Then it went to G. To D, you know. A major, then F sharp minor. I've tuned down a whole step, so then it goes to D.
It sounds nice though.
Then it goes back to the minor, F sharp. To D major 7.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a song called Peace Pipe. And it was one of the biggest hits we had on that record.
That's awesome.
Far out.
Yeah.
I know that tune.
It ended up a big hit on KLOS in Los Angeles. And
I heard it on there.
And it goes to show you, man, like, great song ideas, they don't come from you sitting there going, I'm a composer, I'm a genius, you know. It's really just like almost looking the other way.
Yeah, very incidental,
while
right?
you're playing the guitar and just being quick enough to hit the recorder, you know, or to go, okay, what am I playing? Because I never can remember later what I'm playing. And but those moments, man, is when ideas can come. I remember when I used to write with other writers, like we would just be standing there and I would just be looking at someone and I'd just be going like, I might be going like, I was just playing like a little C sus thing. And I was just doing something like that. It ended up a song on the Heavy Bones album called Beating Heart.
Nice.
It ended up just like beautiful, you know. And all what happened was I was just going. cease us to see, you know.
Yeah.
And then he started singing, you know, and next thing you know, he was like, where is it going? And I went, yeah.
Right.
Whatever it was, and, you know, and it ended up this whole song out of just that one little thing.
That's
and he
awesome.
goes, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah, right. It's the fun of that, you know, not exactly sure where it's going to go, but then you could still explore, you know, whatever avenue that you're feeling at that time, you know, like like David just said, very incidental, you know, you're not there's not a lot of contrivance and, oh, I need to sit down and write today, because you're always, music is just a part of what you're doing, so it's just always there.
Right. And if you're you know, if you're coming up with ideas, you know, you just have to pile them up, you know, you just have to pile them up and pile them up and pile them up. And maybe as you're creating something, say what other ideas that you can come up with right away while you're doing it. So later you can shuffle through it.
Yeah.
But I try to wait weeks, if not months sometimes, before I go back and listen to what's on my recorder. I let it fill up.
Yeah.
And then I drop it in my computer. And then I listen to everything. I label it. And I put it in folders. You know, ballad, funky, heavy, metal. I just separate them and I catalog them. And then I have all these ideas in folders that I can go through and listen to. And I always find them to be very fresh when I don't remember playing them weeks later. I have no idea what I was playing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it just sounds fresh. And I go, whoa, what was that? That's cool.
Yeah.
And I love it even more when I have no idea what the hell I played and I have to go try to figure out what I played.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you go, wow, that was cool. How did I play that?
Yeah.
And it's like we're all playing the same 5 notes, but it was exactly the way you played it that moment that had it, its groove or whatever. If you know what I mean? Like when I wrote the song called I Felt Alive, it's on the latest record. I had this riff. It just goes like a...
That low D.
It goes... Right? And it's just a simple, like, Zeppelin heavy metal riff.
Sure,
but it does this thing where it goes... And that time it only does da-da. It doesn't do the double hit. But every other time it does the double hit. Here's one. Now here's the double. Now one. You know, so it goes, it reverses.
Yeah.
And then when it goes to the chorus, it goes to B flat, to G minor. And then at the end of the song, it just does a thing where it goes. Then it goes.
That's money.
You know, and it kind of does a theme on the chorus at the end, you know. But to me, that's what songwriting is about, is just, you know, goofing around and playing and letting your subconscious, you know, control the creative part, and you're just there to kind of play along.
Yeah. I want to ask, because this is something I like to ask just different guests we've had on, especially songwriters. You've already talked about how it's very instinctual and you're just following, you know, you're inspired by your environment or, you know, different sounds or things, or if somebody goes, hey, that sounds really good. So you're getting a lot of this external sort of stimulus and inspiration. But when those ideas are coming through you at the time, do you have like a vivid picture in your mind, or is it more of just that abstract, like subconscious feeling? Like you just know you want to go in this direction and you're just going in that direction.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting because some of it comes from, you know, just experience of playing music for so long.
Yeah.
That I can kind of hear now in my mind, you know, whether it's a cool riff or an interesting chord progression or something that I think is unique about it.
Yeah.
I can hear that enough to know, like, okay, I know where we can take this.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas when I was younger, I would make these really elaborate demos, like so elaborate, it was crazy. And I would think, if I just keep layering more tracks on it, it's going to become a good song.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
it never really did.
Yeah.
Because either I didn't have a great idea in the beginning, or I didn't complete the idea before I tried to produce it, or I was trying to steal something from someone else so bad that it just didn't sound like me.
Right. Right.
And I used to do that. I would just try to steal a song that I loved, and I was like, "Oh, it's not mine," you know.
Yeah. Right.
But I would try to, you know, I would go. My wife would say, "That sounds a lot like," you know.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I just loved music, and I'm like, I want to write a song like that.
Right.
And I realize now I can write a song like something I love, but it has to be my own idea to it. It has to be my own feeling about it. And so for me, it's you know, knowing that little germs of good ideas can really go a long way, you know, in what you do with it. And sometimes it's not even about, you know, a big production. Sometimes it's maybe about not such a big production and keeping it really simple. Because I notice sometimes music sounds more gigantic when there's less things and each thing has a bigger sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Or even acoustic stuff like this guitar. I've been tuning it down a whole step because I love the sound of just that, you know. You know, that's Dust and Bones. Yep. That's the song Dust and Bones.
Yeah.
And that was another one. I came up with this chord.
D minor 7.
This way of playing like a D minor, you know, it's probably a C minor now, but it's like, you know, the root and the minor third, you know.
Yeah, C minor.
And then just grabbing the 7, you know, and then putting the bass. And it's a different minor to me, you know, other than just going, oh, D minor.
Yeah, exactly. That 135 profile gets so old.
Or D minor. It was just, it had this eeriness to it.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
And then when I move the bass, and then I slide, you know, which, what is it? F to G, you know?
Yeah.
And on this part, I play like a Dorian.
Ooh. Yeah, that's right.
You know that sound like... It's a little more hippie. Sounds like a hippie sound.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
G'd up.
But then on the chorus, I go to B flat. You know, I mean on that part. So you can change it up and add other, you know, other elements to it. And then on the chorus, I just do like a descending. You know, and again, that's such a cliche chord progression, you know, but you can never be afraid of a cliche chord progression, because if that's where your song's going to go, because you need it to say the story, don't worry about the cliche, just do it. Because, you know, when I came up with, you know, I'm going to lift you higher than you've ever been, don't drown your desire in your double sins, find your passion in the Holy Ghost, pray. The payoff is dust and bones.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The chord part and the hook is what is the goal to me. That's the special part of it that makes it that the rest of it can be a little less crazy.
Yep.
And then the payoff is dust and bones.
Absolutely.
That's so real, dude. So
dust
real.
and bones. Well, you know, and the story is what's going to make the whether the chords are simple or not. You know, it's having that one thing that sparks you to go, wow, this is going to be a cool idea for a song. Yeah. The rest of it doesn't have to be so fancy sometimes, you know.
No.
And then I have a section in the middle of the song where we go into like a Zeppelin kind of like, you know, and I start doing that, you know, like the Yngwie sort of scale. Which I love, but I almost took that part out of the song, you know, because when I was writing, I said, oh, that sounds too, you know, too gothic. And everyone else was like, that's my favorite part. So, so you just never know, you know. but again, I came up with as many ideas as I could, and then later on you can, figure out what works,
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
Absolutely.
Masterclass right there.
Well, yeah,
Holy shit.
that's definitely a masterclass for
Holy
sure.
shit.
It's, and hearing you go through that process too, you could take that approach of, you know how to layer and you know how to add, all sorts of stuff to the arrangement. And so when you have the foundation of that section, you can take that ability to arrange and then add in whatever you need to. You can add in little bits, or you can go, oh, an organ part would really be nice on that bridge, or
exactly.
I'm hearing a Leslie in the background, and then you could come up with a counterpoint to that main melody and chord progression that would sound really nice. But you're not trying to automatically build on top of it because you have to, or you have to follow a certain structure or whatever it is.
True.
Yeah.
And the good thing is now, we live in a digital world. So, I always say throw it all in there because it's, we can cut and paste it in Pro Tools and,
Yeah, the tape is
growing
cheap.
up when reel-to-reel tape, it was a little trickier,
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why I grew up more on arrangement, you know what I mean? Because when I was growing up, it was all about arrangement. Like, make sure you got your song, man, like arranged right before you go crazy. And I just, I studied the Beatles and I studied Zeppelin and, Black Sabbath. And I just used to learn songs by other bands, and I'd really analyze the arrangements, when I was trying to become a better songwriter. I would just sit with like a legal pad, and I would just write the name of the song, and I would say, this song starts off with the chorus, or this song has a verse and then a pre-chorus and then a chorus. And, this song doesn't have a bridge, but this song has a bridge. Or, this song starts off with a guitar riff that never happens again. Or, I would look at every little thing about the songs and say, what's cool about this arrangement? Wow, this song only has 3 chords, or this song only has 1 chord in the whole song. I found songs that only had 1 chord.
Yeah.
The Lime and the Coconut.
Lime and the Coconut.
Yeah.
Drink the boat up.
And Born on a Bayou.
Yeah.
By John Fogerty.
Yeah,
1 chord.
Yeah.
I mean, Low Rider's pretty much 1 chord.
Yeah. That's just like a G minor blues the whole time.
I mean, it just never stops doing that 1 riff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if you can write a song with 1 chord, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Same thing with John Lee Hooker, too. Yeah.
So that's what I did. I studied a lot of arrangements.
Yeah. No, and that's the same thing, especially if you're being into blues and funk, you find so many songs like that. There's Parliament Funkadelic songs that are like that, John Lee Hooker songs that are like that, and somehow James Brown songs where,
Brown
doing it
sure.
to death is pretty much just do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do in F for 7 minutes, but you never get tired of the groove.
It's exactly. It's a groove, and it just lives, and they build on it, and it becomes just, amazing. And so you have to kind of study it all, figure out what's going to work for you. And that's kind of what I do. Is music is it's wonderful because it's endless ideas, endless possibilities.
Yeah that's real for sure.
Totes malotes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking at not just your songwriting, and your perspective on that over the years, I'm sure the way you make a record and go into the studio has also changed too, because you had kind of talked about with Heavy Bones, and when that album came out, that was, big label, big budget, big names and players. Going to your first album, it was less of a budget, but you still had a powerhouse of a band. And then going through it, all this time, you've seen the advent of home recording and digital and how that whole side of the industry has changed. So along with the songwriting and how you're crafting the arrangement, how do you look at making a record, today? And what's your process for getting it to sound right and everything to sit right sonically and making sure that you're happy with it?
Well, the cool thing about having a home studio is, you can take your time and you can get it right. You can say, well, I'm not going to rush it, because I remember doing albums with producers where they're like, okay, that's good enough, and I used to hate that,
Yeah.
If you did a take and they said, oh, that's good enough,
Yeah, right.
I'm not naming any names because every producer I worked with was amazing. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
Right.
It was probably my neurotic self, and that's why my records take too long, because I can do it and take as long as I freaking want. But there's when you work with great producers, man, you learn a lot. And I worked with Richie Zito, who produced The Cult and You know, he produced so many great records, man. So many awesome records. And I work with Jimbo Barton, who did Queensryche and, you know, many other great bands. And I worked with Roy Thomas Baker, who did, you know, Queen and The Cars and Journey. And man, when you work with great engineers and great producers, you really pick up some incredible things. So I feel like, you know, I learned a lot from them, so I can't take all the credit, you know. But my approach to making records now is there are no more demos, man. Yeah. The demo becomes the record. So, you know, don't make a demo and then go, oh, how are we going to beat the demo? You know, I think it's like take your ideas and as much as you can, make that the final thing. Even if you have to build on it, you know, establish the tempo, have a nice groove, and, you know, maybe when the singer's singing, get a better mic, so in case he sings it really good, you won't be, oh, too bad he sang it on that Radio Shack mic, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe that works, but I'm just saying, like, with Lita Ford, when I'm producing her, like, whenever she sings, I pull out the Neumann, and I'm like, hold on, stop doing that, and I bring out the Neumann, and I make her sing in it, because I can't tell you how many times she said, let me throw down a rough thing, and tomorrow morning I'll do the real one. And she came in the next morning and said, wow, that sounds great. We're done. Yeah. And so I look at that, and, you know, same with guitars. You know, so many times I've done a demo with a terrible guitar sound. I wish I had recorded it better. But, you know, I just try to tell people, put the best sounds you can going in to Pro Tools or Logic or whatever you're using. You know, take an extra minute to get the bass sounding a little better and you know, get really warm tones going in. Right. Right. And that will give you a much better thing to mix, you know. Don't think you're going to fix it in the mix. Digital doesn't like it if it's harsh, so, you know, make it warm. And then those sounds will really help you to mix everything better and give your song something that you can work with. And other than that, man, you know, you can edit things so easy now in digital that I love to just, you know, put ideas down and build the arrangement with a quick drum beat, and don't... you know, don't go too crazy with like programming the drums for 4 days until you get your arrangement done, you know? And just, you know what I mean? Like throw everything down quick. And like when I'm working with artists, producing and writing, I get moving fast, man. I have everything ready to go. Right. There's a bass chain, a drum thing, and guitars, and it's not going to take 25 minutes to get a vocal thing up, you know? And the day before they come, I test everything and make sure it's working. And then I can jump around quickly if someone says, hey, I want to lay down a vocal part. I don't want to take 25 minutes to set up a mic. Yeah, right. Right, absolutely. And two, you said something I think that, you know, I didn't really think about with your playing until you just mentioned it. With having that mentality of there are no demos, it's whenever I hear you play it, I just have this feeling that you're always on. It's never like a, you know, it's always just sounds polished and I guess like a radio ready sound. Part of that's just because you've been playing for so long, but if you're thinking about it from that mindset of like, oh yeah, we can always do it better later, and you get rid of that and you go, no, it's right now. It's like, this is the moment right now. And it always sounds like that when you play, even just now, pulling up the guitar and you're just going through the song. It sounds like you could be tracking it right now. It's not just, you know what I mean? It's just, it's got that vibe to it. Thank you, man. Well, you know what? It's because that's how I do feel. When I pick up a guitar to play someone something, it's emotional to me. You know what I mean? I don't want it to sound klutzy and clunky. I want it to sound like I mean it. And this is something that I feel, and, you know, and that is how music is to me. And I've learned too many times that when I'm in the studio, like you said, right here, right now. Yeah. Okay? This is our ability. This is our level of technique at this moment. Okay? I've been playing for over 40 years, and I play a lot, and I try to keep myself in good shape. But some guys, you know, they don't have to do what Gary Hoey does. You know, their beautiful thing might be they play like Neil Young, or they play like Chuck Berry, or they have this grindy thing that isn't about flash, it's about feel. Right. And I've produced guitar players where they come in the studio and they're doing all these things they weren't doing when I fell in love with them. I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, because you're Gary Hoey. and I say, no, I want you to be rich. I want you to be you. Yeah. I want you to be that cool thing you were doing in rehearsal. And then they get relaxed, and then they're like, oh, yeah, that thing. Right. And so too many times I've been in the studio and just whipped something off the cuff that was really good, and I just didn't think it was going to be. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm that good. I think it's just, I learned many years ago when I made an album in Germany with these German producers. I was very young, and I wanted to warm up for 2 hours, and they said, no, we're paying money for the studio. You need to start tracking now.
Yeah.
And I realized that you better show up there ready to go, you know? And so what I did was I learned that it isn't about how warmed up I was, and it's nice to warm up, but it was really about playing where I was at the ability of that moment, and not trying to punch in everything to make me do something I can't even figure out how to play later.
Yeah.
So I played more relaxed, and I tried to get one take. And if I went fast, I was like, okay, I think I can pull that one off, but I'm not going to go too crazy. And I felt more relaxed, and I think it came across that way. And I still was shredding, but I wasn't, you know, trying to do something beyond what I felt. And I do that with when I'm producing people too. I say, you know what, you can hit that note, but do you really want to hit it every night on tour? I think this one might sound better, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know.
I was going to say,
what?
I want to make sure, Davey, that you get your Gary Hoey questions in while we,
Gary Hoey time.
Yeah.
Okay. First question. I have some nerdy questions. I wanted to ask you about some of the earlier tunes, like covers and stuff, Gary. I was just wondering, like, so nerdy, but like, was getting the rights to tunes like covering, you know, like, I don't know, just like Money or Hocus Pocus, was that ever like a difficulty, or was it pretty much you just threw it down and everyone was like, cool, no problem?
Well, if you want to do a remake, I mean, it's kind of pretty much just, you know, as long as you list the publisher and you list the writer and you give them the credit, obviously, and the money that they deserve. Harry Fox is the agency that issues the licenses for like a remake. If you want to do it, you basically nowadays, you know, you go to Harry Fox, you contact Harry Fox, and you say, hey man, I want to do a cover of you know, a song by, you know, Buddy Guy, or I want to do The Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King. I always wanted to redo that. So
please do.
You contact Harry Fox, and they basically say, okay, especially nowadays, they're like, all right, well, you're going to put it out, you know, is it a major label? And you're like, no, it's just me and my wife, you know, we do it out of the trunk, you know, we're going to be pressing a couple thousand and that's it. Then they make you pay the mechanical on a couple thousand up front.
Okay.
You know, 6, 9 cents, whatever that is, you know, and so you're going to pay them a few $100s, you know, up front. And now they even try to ask you, well, how many YouTube spins do you think you'll get? You know, and they'll try to actually charge you based on how many YouTube spins you're going to get.
Wow.
So, you know, there's a little bit of that involved. But the cool thing in music is anybody can really pretty much do any cover they want. You know, you can do a remake of anything, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but that's why sometimes you hear these really bad remakes. You're like, wow, no one approved that. You know, it's like some thrash metal version of Captain and Tennille or something. You know, it's just like,
can I say I'm kind of on board for that?
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
I want to hear what will keep us together. Just tune down. Just yeah,
exactly. So, and you know, or like dreidel, like a nice Jewish and drop C or something. Which will probably be my next album, you know,
Hoey Hanukkah.
There we go. Hoey Hanukkah is coming. And so people do, I guess, versions that some people might think that's not a great version.
Sure.
So as long as they get credited, the writers don't care.
Okay, yeah. Because it's about that money that little
and if they make money, it's even better.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I have an even nerdier question about songcraft, if I may.
Yes.
So I like when you were explaining how you would analyze songs and their changes, man. I was like, man, that got me right here. I was like, I'm still doing that to this day, where I just can't stop going over and like songcraft. But I wonder, like, and then listening to your albums, you hear the development of not your songcraft and your playing. As you're moving from the metal to the more like the blues oriented stuff, right? I'm curious as you're developing. Is theory informing choices like chord progressions? Like when you were breaking down the descending progression from Dust and Bones, are you kind of thinking, like, because the thing you said about it being like functional made so much sense because it just conveyed the melody. And I'm like, are you thinking about that on a theory level, or is it more about pulling from your bag, so to speak?
Well, that's a good question, because what I try to do is I try to play from just what I feel, or where my hands just literally fall. I mean, I can't tell you how many songs I've written by playing the wrong chord. Literally, like I was trying to do something and I fell into the wrong position and went, oh my God, what is that? You know, and again, I call it a happy accident. You know, it's just a happy accident, man. You know, you're just, when I'm sitting with writers and I'm producing, I hit the record button all the time. Like as soon as they walk in and they sit down and go, hey, I have this idea, I go, bonk. Because I know any minute they're going to play that riff and I'm going to go, well, what about this? And they're going to go, what about this? And then what about this? And then one of us is going to go, do you remember that? And we're both going to go, no.
Yeah. No.
So it's, you know, hitting that, capturing the moment. And for me, what I do is I try to go on what I feel for the moment of the musical thing that maybe is getting me excited. And then what I do is if I'm trying to develop it more, theory might come into my mind for a second. I might go like, oh, where could I go? Or what might work? And then I'll hit a couple of those. And, you know, especially if I'm sitting with a singer that I'm producing or something, a lot of times I'll hit the cliche 6 minor or, you know, whatever. And they'll go, oh, that's perfect. You're a genius. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, and so it's just, you know what I mean? Or I'll try to do something fancy and they'll go, oh man, you just killed my whole vibe. And I'm like, sorry. And then I go back to the little stupid cliche thing I was doing and they go, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So it's sometimes just finding what's going to work. And I always tell people I'm teaching, or, you know, when I'm talking about writing, is just, you know, learn the theory so you have options, you have things to go to. It doesn't mean you're going to ruin your vibe if you know theory. It just gives you some things to draw from so that, again, I was talking early in the discussion that, you know, we're all working with the same chords, man. You know, it's the same chords. But it's like our house. It's how we decorate it and how we paint it and how we make that groove go. And another reason I try to keep it simple is because, like Jesse was saying earlier, you know, someone might put an organ in it. They might throw a string line. The bass player might do something off funky thing that I'm not even doing. And all of a sudden I go in there with this basic chord and they all make me sound like a genius because they're all doing this cool stuff around it. So, you know, it's, you know, any idea should be put in to make sure you can see what's going to work. And when I'm producing people, I never say, no, that's not a good idea, or I don't think that's going to work. I just say, hey, let's throw it down and see what happens. You know? Because keep the ideas coming from everyone, because it's better to have more ideas than not enough. And even if you're putting down too many tracks, you can always hit the mute button and say, that's too much. Let's strip it down. But don't fight with the guy that says, hey, let me try this mandolin part. You know what I mean? And someone's like, this song shouldn't have mandolin. It might be what makes it a top 10 hit.
Right?
Absolutely.
Look at REM. Hey.
That's me in the corner.
Absolutely.
Someone probably said, you know, no one really likes those ukuleles and different things like, and, you know, and then all of a sudden Jason Mraz came out. You know?
Yeah.
My son came home from school with a ukulele.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think Billie Eilish, they just started making Fender signature ukuleles. And it's just, you know, because now there's a whole resurgence to play that instrument among young musicians now. It's crazy.
Isn't it lovely?
And it's a great instrument that little people can get their hands around.
And
it doesn't take a lot to make it sound like music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what's cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely what's cool. I know you got to get going. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah, I have time. I have a few more minutes. I'm not going to rush you guys if you need a little more time. No problem.
No. It's. I just wanted to ask you about, you know, with listening to the first album and, you know, looking at, you know, going back to your back catalog a little bit. I didn't realize this, but Tony Franklin played bass on that first album and Hocus Pocus and all of that. And it's such a small world that, you know, you and, you know, Tony are both involved in the rock and roll fantasy camp, and it just shows you how small this music community and world is, that you can work with somebody way back then, and then you can end up working with them and still being a colleague with them years later in different capacities. And so I want to ask you, because you're the kind of person that when you show up into a room, everybody's like, Gary, and, you know, you're that guy. And everybody, you make it better when you're around, you know, musically and personally. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your ass. It's true. It's like when Gary's around and leading things or like involved in a music project or playing a gig, you bring this positivity, bringing it back to what we talked about earlier. You make the vibe better. And so I wanted to kind of ask, how have you maintained relationships over the years? What do you think is the best way to do that professionally, personally, just within the business? Because it seems like that might be kind of a daunting task for younger people starting off. And I think that you seem like you are a master at it. So I just wanted to ask what your advice was in that area.
Well, thank you, man. You know, I try to, you know, I try to be a positive energy and you know, a positive thing for people when they come in contact with me.
Yeah.
And the way that I kind of developed that over my life and my history in this business, and it goes back to when I was in my 20s. And I'm not going to say I haven't made mistakes, bro, because I have, you know.
Yeah.
I've made mistakes in my teenage years. I got kicked out of a few bands, you know, because I'm a bit intense.
Yeah.
And I'm a hard worker, and I expect people to work as hard as me sometimes, and they don't want to. So maybe I was that guy in some of my early bands that was going, man, how come you guys are always late for rehearsal? Or, you know, let's rehearse on Sunday night. Or, you know, I was the one pushing more.
Right.
But yeah, there was a couple of times when I drew a line in the sand and I stepped back and everybody else was on the other side. I was like, oh man, I guess I'm out. So, so even Gary Hoey gets rejected. But
Oh man.
I deserved it. I guess I was a bit of a tyrant, and I realized I needed to kind of get my point across a little bit more, you know, mellow, and realize that, you know, I don't need to. I learned some lessons, is what I'm saying. I learned a little bit of etiquette and trying to say, you know, and I'm not saying that band would have worked either, but
right.
I started learning that, you know, you attract more bees with honey.
Yeah.
And if you're the guy that, you know, every time someone calls you, you're complaining, you know,
Right.
Or if my manager, you know, when he managed a lot of different artists, you know, I didn't want to be the guy that was calling him complaining. So we'd always have these really uplifting, cool conversations.
Yeah.
So he always took my calls.
Right.
And he'd tell me, oh, so-and-so's bitching and bitching and bitching, you know, and he would tell me.
Yeah.
For
right.
sure.
And sometimes he'd say, this guy wants me to get his songs in movies. He hasn't given me a new song in 2 years.
Right.
I'd hear the stories, you know. And if I was sitting in his office, you know, he would just feel so comfortable around me that he would start talking business on the phone with other people. And Gary, Gary's here, it's no big deal. So I learned a lot just from listening. And
right.
And I learned that, you know, if you're the guy that says yes all the time, people are going to call you more often. Right. So when people would call me and say, hey, man, can you do this? Can you do that for me? I'd say, I don't know. Let me see. I'll try. Or let's see if we can make it happen, you know. And so in my relationships and my friendships, you know, I definitely try to, you know, keep in touch with people, you know, keep connected if you can in a way, even if it's not just musically all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and obviously, you know, just, you know, be professional and be fun to be around obviously helps. In the industry. And, you know, you can't fake it. You know what I mean? You can't fake it. You have to be who you are.
Right.
And if you're the quiet guy, you know, if you're the silent killer, then be that guy too, you know?
Right.
Because sometimes people don't like someone that's so over the top. But if that's your personality and it's genuine.
Yeah.
The thing about me is people have learned, and I've had people challenge me where they're like, you're not this nice, you're not that nice, or you're full of crap, or you're not really, why would you care about me?
Sounds like New Yorkers
kind of thing. And you know, and that's going to happen. But I have proved a lot of people wrong that, no, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am. And I want to give people my best and try to uplift people. When I come in the room, I have a weird thing of giving people compliments. It's just the way I am, you know.
Yeah.
I usually give people a compliment, you know.
Yeah.
I think when I came on the show, the first thing I did was compliment the studio, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I meant it.
Yeah.
But when you're coming on a show, podcast, radio, TV, I don't care what it is, I always say, wow, man, this place looks awesome, and I love your show. I was listening to you guys yesterday, and you guys have a great show, you know, and just And if I'm coming to a radio station, I'm going to look on their website and see what are they up to. You know, what are they doing? Are they having a charity fundraiser or what's going on? You know?
Yeah.
Don't just show up and think it's all about you, you know? Know who they are a little bit and walk in and be like, hey, man, I noticed you guys are doing this thing, man. That's awesome. And then they're going to go, wow, that guy's really paying attention to what we're doing. He cares, you know? And so, you know, that's really how you're going to make people want to have you back on the show and have you be a good guest. And I'm not just talking about radio shows, but wherever you are, you know, I always try to know when to move forward and help people out when they're like, Gary, fill us some time. Give me a story. And then I know when to pull back and shut my mouth. And if they're doing the sports, I'm just going to sit there and I'm not going to act impatient. I'm just going to smile and listen to what they're doing and stay involved, you know.
Yeah.
And so anything in life, I think, you know, be in the moment. Be in the moment with the people you're with.
Right.
Make a genuine connection with the people you're with. And when your friends are in need, you know, be there. You know, whether they're on the top of the world, they're on the bottom of the world, you have to make sure you reach out to them and say, hey, man, I heard what's going on. I want to check on you, you know. If you're always making calls about money, you know what I mean? Money isn't everything. You got to sometimes just make calls to connect with people and network in a way that's just being a human being, you know.
Right.
And the rest of it, I think, really, you know, things are going to happen. You're going to make mistakes, and you can't be afraid to say you're sorry. You know, sometimes just screwing up and saying to someone, hey, I really screwed up. I'm really sorry about what happened. Can we make it work? Sometimes your relationship will become even stronger by admitting you're wrong or saying, hey, you know, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I want to learn. People will be more open to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that summed it up perfectly, I think. And it just goes to show you, too, that, you know, being in the business as long as you have, you know, you've learned over time. And like you said, you know, it's not just as in the playing, that kind of stuff is, you know, another skill that you learn over time, you know, and learning how to, you know, relate and learning how to just work in this business. And, you know, it's I think you're a testament to a lot of things, man, and it's been awesome to talk to you today. And you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. One of the nicest people in music and in rock and roll, and you're very supportive of people and helpful. And I hope it's something that, you know, we'll see more of in the future, and that attitude and that positivity will rub off on more people.
Well, I appreciate that a lot, my friend, and so are you. You guys are great people as well.
Oh, thank you.
And, you know, you really, you guys do a great job. I want to compliment you on that. And, yeah, man, I'm here. I just want to uplift people and keep a positive thing going. And, you know, when it's time to kick ass, we'll kick ass when we get on stage.
Yes, dude.
That's it.
Yes. I was going to say, next time you come through town, man, I will be there and, you know, head banging along and rocking out to you, and it'll be an awesome time. It'll be a good time.
Good. Well, I cannot wait, and I want to wish you guys the best with everything you're doing, and I want to thank you for you know, doing something like this to give a platform for sharing your ideas and letting other people tune in that we may be able to give them some motivation too. So good for you guys.
Yeah, man. You know, everybody always asks you about Jeff Beck and Endless Summer and Dick Dale, and it's like, well, I want to ask you about what you know, your writing process is like, and we want to know about like how you craft a song. You know, you've already said all of those things, so you know, I want to know what's behind all of, you know, the cool stuff that you've done. What's behind, you know, not behind the music, you know, but you know what I mean. That's another show.
Yeah, we covered some great stuff, man.
Yeah.
This was heavy.
Yeah, that's what we're about, man. You know, after gig talk and conversations, stuff that you don't get into with, you know, anybody other than, you know, musicians and stuff like that, you know. So,
well, you know, you made it very. I think this whole hang was. I think even non-musicians would dig it because we talked about a lot of stuff that relates to life. And being in a band is, you know, like being in a marriage. There's a lot of compromise and a lot of adjustments and learning that you do. And you can either lift people up or you can pull them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I'll let you get back to the rest of your day, and I'm sure you've got all sorts of stuff you got going on. So, again, thank you so much. And, yeah, man, I hope to catch up with you and be hanging with you soon in person.
Well, stay in touch, my friend.
Yes.
And you know I'm always here for you, man. You guys have a great one.
Yes, and I'm going to keep up with the workouts, too.
Dude, let's
we'll
keep
see
it
about
going,
that.
man. You know, we're in shape. We're feeling good. I've been pumping people up, man. I feel like I might have a new career somewhere.
Yes, I was going to say, you can be a rock and roll Richard Simmons and just...
Well, it's really funny. Well, I was hoping you would say someone else, but...
sorry, that was the
boy.
first person that came to mind.
No, that's okay, bro. I'm going to tell you a funny story, though. I was
Please.
I'm not wearing my shorts that high, but I wanted to tell you, I almost... Today's April Fool's, and I wanted to come online this morning and just do a post about exercising.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say to everybody, you know, I've decided I'm starting a new profession. It's go big or go home, and I'm giving up my music career and I'm going full time. You know, if you need any personal training, call me.
Oh Lord!
And just let think my fans that I was giving up music for exercise.
Yeah.
But then I said I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, I don't want to put people through that.
Because I knew you would have put like a Richard Simmons meme up. I know you would have.
You know damn well he would
I was
have.
going to say, all right, fans of the podcast, you know what to do if you have any photos.
No, you guys would have killed me. I'm like, I'm not doing
Attack
it.
Harry.
All right, brother. It was great talking to you, and I hope to see you soon.
Holy shit! Thank you,
My
Gary.
friends, all the best. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Peace
see ya.
out, man.
Rock
Thank
on,
you.
my guys.
Does that count as a song?
It's a meditative outro.
And I just wanted to give you a little sample. I'm gonna perform my new single for you guys real quick off my new age album. It's called "Center Yourself." The song's called "Namaste."
That's off of Davey's New Age album, and
Yeah.
he's also going to be working on that one right after he releases the Disaster Cabinet record. So.
Peace be with your faces is the name of that.
Yeah.
Peace upon your holes is the name of that new album.
Well, how about that interview? And also sort of private songwriting lesson. I mean, it's not private because it's going out on the podcast, but it was like I didn't expect the acoustic guitar to come out.
Yeah, like it took several days to recover before we could do these intros or the outros. That's the reveal, team.
Yeah.
We were just a little gobsmacked because Gary's just like, a guitar is not in frame, and all of a sudden, flip a doop doop doop, and he's just like showing us how songs go and how it was like when he wrote them and just piecing them together.
Yeah,
man. I mean, yeah, it was definitely like. I think it was a private lesson though, because everybody else is they're just gonna be watching what we were a part of. Sorry,
Fair
team.
enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
But it was so legit. It was a good hang for sure. What was your any particular takeaways for you?
Just kind of what I thought when we were recording it. It was just like he is always ready, and I know that just sounds cliche because of course he's been doing it, forever, and of course he's a professional, so that's what the job is. But it's just something about, of course he pulls out a guitar and it's perfectly balanced sound wise, and it's also like, this is how I did this, and it's just awesome. It's just clear, concise, and you walk away from it inspired. And I think that's the most important part. It's like every time I've talked to Gary about music business stuff, I've talked to Gary about songwriting, just touring. It's just, I want to do more, and I want to work more at my craft. And then that's just my main takeaway from it. He's just always been inspiring from the time that I've met him. So
no, that makes sense. I totally get that. I got that same sort of understanding from it too, for sure.
Yeah.
It was nice to have things that I feel pretty strongly about songcraft being like coming out of the dude himself's mouth is kind of almost like sounds the way I tell myself about it. And I'm like, that's definitely gratifying. It feels like you're on the proper path. there's no right, there's no wrong. But I'm like, if the master is saying things that occur to me in my in my state of mind, I'm like, that's a good sign. So,
yeah, absolutely.
That was like a higher order factor, but yeah.
Yeah. It's also, you know, when he was talking about things being instinctual and he just is going with what he's feeling in the moment, and coupled with his experience, he's developed his process that way that works. And so I think it's inspiring as well, because whatever your process is, you can kind of craft it over time. Even if it's really unorthodox, you can craft it and mold it and find a way to make it productive and work. And it, you know, no matter what your approach is, you know, it's just a matter of literally trial and error and just figuring out what works. Like he said, he's inspired, you know, by all these different things going on. Like he said, he could look outside and it's, you know, a nice, you know, sunny afternoon, and then he hears a chord progression because of that, or he has an idea and he wants to work it out on the guitar. So it's things like that, you know, you could go, oh, well, you might want to sit down and disciplined every day and write a song at the same time. And some people have had that approach. And, you know, it's different strokes for different folks, basically, as the old cliched saying goes.
Yeah, it's like you gotta follow your whatever it is. I don't want to call it muse or whatever, but your instinct. I guess bringing it back to instinct. That's really the nature of it. It's like you have to follow your own instincts with that. Because the idea of writing something that is like sitting down the same way like every day to write a song sounds like that'd be like planning to take a poop the same time every day, which I just can't live by. Not with this intestinal tract that I got, bro. It just won't. It ain't gonna go down like that. It's gonna be random and exciting forever.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: if you end up going on tour with Disaster Cabinet, that's a skill set that will definitely come in handy.
Yeah.
So you might want to. I was gonna say you might want to figure out ways to regulate the old Sipes plumbing that you got going on in there.
Oh, when you go on the road, man, it's simple. You gotta do the BAC diet, the back diet. Is banana apple Cliff Bar. Repeat. Banana apple Cliff Bar. You'll have enough energy to keep going, and you'll rarely ever have to take anything resembling a shit.
Yeah.
And they will all smell like potpourri because the apple. So
yeah. Well, hey, like, you heard it here first. Speaking of different methods for everybody, if anybody wants to implore Davy's back method, feel free and go right ahead.
Hashtag back diet.
Hashtag back diet. So, citizens of this podcast, we thank you once again for tuning in and following our endeavors in discussing creativity and songwriting and all sorts of interesting processes that people have. And yeah, we thank you so much. If you have any suggestions for who you want to see, if you want to turn us on to anybody that we don't know about, send us a DM, leave us a comment, do all of that social, technological stuff that you do. And yeah, thank you again.
Yes, and we don't just thank you, but we pick you up in our lap, and then we stroke your golden hairs, and we make you feel so tiny and nice, because you came to see us, and we like you. Goodbye.
Sonic City Council was created by Jesse Davidson and Davey Sipes and engineered by Max Taylor at Desert Sound Studio in Palmdale, California. Thank you to Disaster Cabinet for the outro music. Intro music written by Max Taylor. Sonic City Council is produced in association with Amped Music Academy and the Showcase Venue. For more information, visit theshowcasevenue.com.